that when you get drunk, the reason you're so decapacitated and stupid and, can't walk right and so on, depending on the level of drunkenness, staggering, is because it destroys brain cells. But really, people are so far away from knowing what real fun is, and we're all seeking fun. We're all seeking pleasure. That we have to turn to all these alternate states of consciousness to have what we call fun. Because normal consciousness, being sober, so to speak, is such a drag. We're so far away from any lifestyle that brings about real happiness and joy that we have to go into these huge altered states of consciousness to even have some symptom of pleasure.
Hi and welcome to the Breaking Trail podcast. My name is Ruben, and you'll also hear my friend and teacher Balakia speak. This is our conversation and a podcast where you learn to navigate life's journey through ancient wisdom. And today we'll speak about the topic of alcohol, how this affects society and our own and the spiritual health of others.
Okay, so we're going to talk about fermented juice.
Fermented juice. Some people are like, anything that's in nature is a good thing. And so some people think that if it's out in nature, it's meant for us to use, and nature made it that way, and they use it as an argument for using whatever substances are out there because nature produced them like that. So that's all perfect. We're meant to use them.
Yeah, but nature produces some plants that are absolutely poisonous and will kill you. Does that mean you should use that too? Those arguments are always there, and that's why we just go off the Vedas, because you'll always get into debates with people on any subject. Or if it comes from nature, it's good. So you can use marijuana, you can use peyote from cactus, you can use psilocybin from mushrooms, you can let the natural juice from the apples ferment and drink hard cider. You can always say that.
Yeah.
But of course, if you have the Vedas and you take that as an authority, then it's not like there's no room for argument. It's not opinions. It's just like, this is the final story, and you accept it or you don't. And they don't understand that different things are in different modes of nature. A lot of those things that they may say is good because it's in nature are actually in the mode of ignorance. So mushrooms, for instance, are in the mode of ignorance. So, you can eat them, and, there's some medicinal value, they say, in certain ones against cancer or whatever, but it's still mode of ignorance, animals are in nature too, and you can eat those, but
I guess, well, that's true. And I guess that goes with the idea of I was going to say, it goes with the idea that anything in nature is kind of like, nature is meant to, well, like we've spoken before, like this is our home, anything that's out there, it's meant for us to, nature is designed in a way, but it's not designed in that way just for us to enjoy it. Some things are designed for us to, like a fire is designed so that you almost touch it and you burn yourself and you learn.
Yeah, exactly. And animals know what to eat and what not to eat. They don't eat everything in nature.
Yeah, that's true.
They're very discriminatory about, they don't eat certain plants, and certain plants they do. Even the herbivores, they're very selective on what they do and they don't eat. And man has more discriminating ability than the animals.
Yeah.
But if the goal is enjoying, like, the goal is for almost everybody, then, whatever gives you pleasure is what you accept as okay. And so, what is the criteria depends on your consciousness.
Yeah.
So if you're the enjoyer, then your criteria is, if it feels good, do it. And if your criteria is spiritual advancement, then it may feel good sensually, but you don't do it because it's an obstacle to spiritual growth. So you have to be selective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And even I was reading in Bhagavad Gita a quote about even if you want real peace, and if you want others in society to have real peace, I mean, and this talk is going to be about one specific drug, which is alcohol, and the effect of alcohol. And there's a quote in Bhagavad Gita that says, how to attain real peace. This is 271. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace.
right. Yeah, because the world is an agitating story. If you're trying to enjoy it, senses are always crying out for more stimulation and increased or heightened sensual experiences. And so you can't be peaceful. You're always agitated. That's a mode of passion. And it also describes in Bhagavad Gita that, mode of passion leads to anxiety. You're always in anxiety. No matter how much you get, you want more. And what used to be enough quickly becomes not enough. And you have to increase the stimulation. And that's why drugs and alcohol both, and all these intoxicants, you start off and, it only takes just a little bit to get a big result. But, that doesn't stay that way. And then you got to have more to get the same effect. Yeah. And on it goes, That's one of the things that is the deal with crack cocaine, the first time you ever try crack, I don't know because I never did it, but I've talked to a lot of people who have, and they say the first time you use crack cocaine, the immediate high is so incredible that you can't believe it. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to reach that same point again, and you can't really achieve it again. So you increase the dose and you do all these different things to try to just reach that one moment that you had in that first time that you remember very well, but you never get there again. And you wind up becoming a complete crack addict, and destroys your life, just trying to get back to that one moment. So.
But I guess, many people would say alcohol is different, and that's what we're gonna put a question mark behind today, I think,
Yes. Well, again, using the Vedas as a reference, it says no intoxication, and that is for one who's trying to actually use the human form of life as it's intended, and that's spiritual progress, spiritual realization, following the tenets of the scriptures that promote well-being spiritually. If you're just trying to enjoy, again, you're going to come up with all kind of, concepts and justifications. And even the medical scientists have, over some time said, a little alcohol is actually good for you. They've done studies of one type or another, and, a little glass of wine or a little bit of alcohol consumption daily is actually good,
Exactly.
But we just were discussing that article that we had about. Actually, it was on CNN, and the title is "Drinking Any Amount of Alcohol Causes Damage to the Brain," study finds. That's the headline. Drinking any amount of alcohol causes damage to the brain, the study finds. This is on CNN Health. And you know, you may not know CNN, but CNN is mainstream media in America. And they have branches in different countries. So this is from CNN Health in London. Mm-hmm. And what does it say? There is no such thing as a safe level of drinking with increased consumption of alcohol associated with poor brain health, according to a new study. No such thing as a safe level of drinking with increased consumption of alcohol associated with poor brain health. In an observational study, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, researchers from the University of Oxford studied the relationship between the self-reported alcohol intake of some 25,000 people in the UK and their brain scans. 25,000, that's a lot of people in a study.
Yeah.
The researchers noted that drinking had an effect on the brain's gray matter. Regions in the brain that make up, quote, important bits where information is processed, according to lead author Anya Topiwala, a senior clinical researcher at Oxford. The more people drank, the less volume of their gray matter, Topiwala said via email. See? The gray matter, I mean, we've heard about gray matter our whole life, right? It's in connection with the brain. And this is the region in the brain that make up important bits where information is processed. So with the increasing of alcohol, the decreasing of the gray matter. Brain volume reduces with age and more severely with dementia. Smaller brain volume also predicts worse performance on memory testing, she explained. Whilst alcohol only made a small contribution to this, 0.8%, it was a greater contribution than other modifiable risk factors, she said, explaining that modifiable risk factors are ones you can do something about, in contrast to aging.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't stop aging, and it's going to have its effect regardless.
Exactly.
But this is a modifiable risk factor. You can do something about drinking. The type of alcohol doesn't matter. The team also investigated whether certain drinking patterns, beverage types, and other health conditions made a difference to the impact of alcohol on brain health. They found that there was no safe level of drinking, meaning that consuming any amount of alcohol was worse than not drinking it. They also found no evidence that the type of drink, such as wine, spirits, or beer, affected the harm done to the brain. However, certain characteristics, such as high blood pressure, obesity, or binge drinking, could put people at higher risk, researchers added. So many people drink, quote, moderately, and think that this is either harmless or even protective, Topiwala told CNN via email.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like you say, oh, I'm a moderate drinker. You know, I just drink a little bit every day. I don't get drunk, and so on. And as I say, some reports have even indicated that it's protective. See? But according to this study, see, it's not correct. As we have yet to find a, quote, cure for neurodegenerative diseases like dementia, knowing about factors that can prevent brain harm is important for public health, she added. And neurodegenerative diseases is actually increasing. You know, it seems to be on the rise. And, you know, there's also a corresponding increase in alcohol consumption. It's certainly mainstream. It's very difficult to find someone who doesn't drink. And the reason that most of the non-drinkers don't drink is some spiritual basis. Oh, my religion, forbids drinking, or, say we shouldn't drink. In other words, it's not just many average guys who don't have some spiritual inkling that don't drink. Now, I have known some that they just never liked it from the beginning. But that's rare. Those are people who are pretty solidly situated in the mode of goodness. And therefore, the whole taste, the experience, the whole thing around drinking just doesn't appeal to them. Going to a party where everybody's drunk and stupid and, loud and obnoxious, it just doesn't appeal to a person in the mode of goodness. It's like a place they avoid. They don't want to go there. But for a person in the mode of passion and ignorance, that's the magnet, that's the draw, that's the whole fun time. There's a word that's used, we've heard it always, party. Let's party, And that doesn't mean just let's get together and have a good time playing some games or, play some music and dance or whatever. Basically, it means let's get together and drink. The word party and drinking is synonymous, And I grew up, I'm pretty old school, and I grew up in a strong Christian community, and drinking was quite frowned upon, just because of, as I say, Christianity, taught, the body's a temple. Don't degrade your temple with alcohol. There was no such thing as drugs in those days. Marijuana and all the other drugs didn't even exist. They existed, but in our world, they didn't exist. Nobody. That was back in the, late 40s and 50s and so on. But when we had parties, we had a good time. We played music, we danced, you did things that were fun, but there was no alcohol involved. There was none. But you still had a good time.
Yeah.
But then, as things progress more and more, and all the spiritual values, kind of disappeared, and, the sensual demands increased, parties became synonymous with drinking. And you can't have a party without alcohol. It's like there's no party. What party? But you can just get together and drink and get drunk, and that's a good party. Times have changed.
I have a feeling that it's like, because I've never been attracted to it. I was not in a specific, there was no environment where I was taught not to do that, but I was just, like you said, never attracted to it. I think I've been drunk I think I've been drunk once when my girlfriend at that time, she had her birthday, 21st birthday, I think it was, and I wanted to give her some kind of present. It sounds so stupid. It was as well, but that's the one time. But I have a feeling that, I don't know, but that people, when they drink, you know that they're not themselves, and then they're not, in a sense, like responsible for what they're doing. So maybe people feel they can relax more because they're not responsible anyway, because it's the alcohol that's doing the stuff that they're doing, So they can always say, "Oh, but I was drunk," This is some, no responsibility, no.
Exactly, yeah. And, a lot of people just have inhibitions of one type or another. Maybe they're a little shy or, self-conscious, and, they don't feel like they really fit in. All kinds of different, personal viewpoints of themselves. And so when they drink, all those inhibitions just disappear.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, I can do anything I want. I'm not that little, person who's afraid and, worried about what people think. You just don't care, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's a kind of liberation for people.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
they're liberated. You know. Let's finish this article and then we'll begin to talk about these things. So they found there was no safe level of drinking, meaning that consuming any amount of alcohol was worse than not drinking it. They also found evidence that it doesn't matter what you drink, as wine, spirits, and beer, all affected the person and harm was done to the brain. And so on. We read all that. The risk, now there's no safe limit. The risks of alcohol have long been known. Previous studies have found that there is no amount of liquor, wine, or beer that is safe for your overall health. Alcohol was the leading risk factor for disease and premature death in men and women between the ages of 15 and 49 worldwide in 2016, accounting for nearly 1 in 10 deaths.
Wow.
How about that? Alcohol was the leading risk factor for disease and premature death in men and women between the ages of 15 and 49 worldwide in 2016, accounting for nearly 1 in 10 deaths, according to a study published in The Lancet in 2018. While we can't yet say for sure whether there is no safe level of alcohol regarding brain health at the moment, it has been known for decades that heavy drinking is bad for brain health. Sadie Boniface, head of the research at the UK's Institute of Alcohol Studies, told CNN via email. We also shouldn't forget alcohol affects all parts of the body, and there are multiple health risks, says Boniface, who was not associated with the University of Oxford study. Tony Rowell, a visiting clinical fellow in old age psychiatry at King's College London, told CNN that given the large sample size, it was unlikely the study's findings could have arisen by chance. So, studying 25,000 people kind of eliminates the possibility of, it was just chance. You didn't have a large enough study group. See. Rowell said the study replicates previous research that has shown there is no safe limit in the level of alcohol consumption for its role in damage to the structure and function of the human brain. Previous research has found that subtle changes which demonstrate change to the brain can present in ways that are not immediately detectable on routine testing of intellectual function and can progress unchecked until they present with more noticeable changes in memory. See, little bit, you don't really notice any decline in memory function until it reaches a certain point, and then it becomes obvious. But it's been building up. Even at levels of low-risk drinking, he said, there is evidence that alcohol consumption plays a larger role in damage to the brain than previously thought. The Oxford study found that this role was greater than many other modifiable risk factors, such as smoking. The interaction with high blood pressure and obesity or on increasing the damage done by alcohol to the brain emphasizes the wider role of diet and lifestyle in maintaining brain health, he added. And what's on the increase more and more now is obesity, high blood pressure. I just saw a headline today, and I didn't read the article, that high blood pressure is presenting more and more a great risk factor, to public health. So you combine all these things, which are increasing anyway, with alcohol, and you got a disastrous formula. And I was just talking to Slava and Yuli and some of the guys here that we've all known, I've known for, I don't know, all my life, I guess, that when you get drunk, the reason you're so decapacitated and stupid and, can't walk right and so on, depending on the level of drunkenness, staggering, is because it destroys brain cells. That's what happens when you get drunk. And that's why you have a headache the next morning. When you wake up, you got this huge hangover, because all these brain cells have been destroyed. Well, obviously, how can that be good? You're just voluntarily destroying brain cells. So so it doesn't make, if anybody's using their intelligence, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, that's stupid. But really, people are so far away from knowing what real fun is, and we're all seeking fun, we're all seeking pleasure, that we have to turn to all these alternate states of consciousness to have what we call fun. Because normal consciousness, being sober, so to speak, is such a drag. We're so far away from any lifestyle that brings about real happiness and joy that we have to go into these huge altered states of consciousness to even have some symptom of pleasure. And then the other side is that people's lives are so miserable, they use alcohol, in this case, or drugs, but we'll stick with alcohol. They use alcohol to escape the pain and the suffering and the misery. I mean, what does a person do when they have a real problem in their life? Let's say your love affair, is destroyed, and you had your whole, life and your heart was in the hands of this other person, and all of a sudden, it's gone. What do? You catch your girlfriend, out with another guy, what do? You go get drunk, You just go buy alcohol and start drinking to cover it up, and then you're just angry, and then the whole thing goes sour anyway.
Exactly.
But it's just an escape mechanism. You're depressed, get drunk, and then you get more depressed, So I remember I worked in a restaurant, years and years ago, and a part of the restaurant, there was a bar associated with the restaurant. And I saw these men come in every night, same guys, and they sat in the same bar stool, and they just stayed there, and they just drank until they were completely drunk before they go home. Some of them was because the wife at home was, their relationship was so bad, they didn't want to go home to the wife, and the kids, but they just would rather stay there and get drunk and then go home and fall in bed and go to sleep. Or maybe some didn't have anybody at home and they were lonely. They didn't want to go home to an empty house, So they'd stay there and drink until they could just go home and fall in bed and go to sleep. Every night, that was their routine. Work all day, come to the bar, drink, and usually they didn't even eat. Maybe they'd eat a little something at the bar, some piece of pizza, whatever. And then they go home and you could see their life was just so miserable. What a hellish existence. And, there was just no other, that was their escape, liberation.
Yeah.
So everybody wants liberation, liberation from the pain and the suffering and the disappointments and the, depressions and failures in life, and on and on and on it goes, you see. But the Vedas teach real liberation. Our process is, there is liberation. And yes, the soul should be liberated from the material world and all the misery that's here on all levels, physical, mental, psychological, on and on, you see. But the real liberation is spiritual liberation, losing your attachment and your dependency on the senses and the world and, all these temporary relationships and so on, for your happiness, for your security and your protection, but have a real foundation of spiritual connection with the Supreme Lord, And your happiness is in pleasing the Lord, serving the Lord, being in the presence of the Lord, and, ultimately going back to the spiritual world, which is our original home, and absolute liberation from the material world and its designed miseries, So we're not against liberation, but alcohol and so on is not the solution. It's bondage. It's not liberation. You just dig yourself deeper in, You don't get out. You just get buried more and more,
And most of the time you also make it so that other people are buried more and more. There are consequences for other people. There's, I was reading an article today about Southwest Airlines and American Airlines. What they did, I think both of them, or at least Southwest Airlines, or I think most airlines, when Corona started during this COVID, or got worse, they had to close down the alcohol sale at the flights to not spread any disease in any way. And now that they opened up that again, I guess they didn't see like how big of a problem it was to sell alcohol until now, when they started opening up the sales of alcohol again. So now they had a flight attendant who was assaulted, and they have it's gone so bad. It's been so bad since they re-implemented the alcohol sales on flights that both Southwest Airlines and American Airlines are canceling their alcoholic beverage service sales.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that same article too.
Yeah.
So, there's no good that comes from alcohol. I mean, you can't find any good that comes from alcohol. It's all negative, And we've all known alcoholics, and it's pitiful, really, to see them. Yeah. I had a girlfriend when I was in high school who never drank. She never drank, never did any kind of things like that. And anyway, I didn't see her for many, many years. And then when I finally saw her, it must have been, 30-something years later, she was a complete alcoholic, And, she told me that she never drank because she knew if she ever started drinking, she would become an alcoholic. She just knew that. Her brother became a cocaine addict. Her father was an alcoholic. And she knew if she ever went there, just because of genetic makeup or whatever, that would be it. But somewhere along the line, she didn't maintain that standard. And she became a complete alcoholic. Highly educated, very, very high position, in a school system and so on, but a complete alcoholic, It ruined her life, completely destroyed her life, destroyed her marriage, etc. In other words, what good comes from it? What is the benefit here? And you can't find it, And the Vedas all along said no intoxication. This is not like some mystery. It will not produce any good results. Mode of ignorance is not a producer of good results for anybody. But again, I think we mentioned it once before that, all these, beer companies and so on, although they've restricted the advertising a lot nowadays, but in other words, in general, people can't do anything without having some beer or some wine associated with it. You can't go out to dinner without it. You can't go for a mountain bike ride without ending the ride with, let's go have a beer,
Yeah.
You know, or
After ski.
you go ski, après ski, you know, gosh, go to the Alps, man, and you know, as many people go there for après ski as they do for skiing. Skiing is just an excuse, you know,
Exactly. So you can get into the bar at the end of the day.
get into the bar, you know, and
or
just
the middle of the day.
get stupid, you know. You see guys going down the street at 9 o'clock at night, still in their ski boots, wobbling all over, you know, bumping into things. You know, it hadn't even been home, or guys, you know, lose their skis. Some guy picks up their skis and takes them instead of their own, or whatever the reason. I mean, it's really stupid stuff, but it's so common, you know. It's just the lifestyle that's people are leading and taking them further away from happiness. You know, it's just self-defeating. If your goal is happiness, this is self-defeating.
And it's not even like it's just so common when you like look under the surface. There's so many things going on. Like you say, even this, like your ex, who was, you know, very highly educated and in such a high like societal position. These people, like anyone is, we're all so, we're not like, I mean, because people might say that you can only, like, just a little bit doesn't harm, but like first of all, you don't know, like how do we know that we can tolerate that and we can keep it at that level? Like, how are we? Isn't it better to be careful? I think, you know.
Yeah. Well, nobody wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I'm going to be an alcoholic in my life. I want to be an alcoholic. That's my goal. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? An alcoholic. Nobody does that. You know, oh, just a little party here, party there, a little, you know, social drinking, you know, and so on. One thing leads to another and to another. And pretty soon, you know, you're that guy.
You're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I've got some friends that are let's say, rehabilitated alcoholics. One in particular I'm thinking of that, I mean, he used to tell people, I've spilled more beer than you've ever drunk, you know. and he was always an athlete, you know, but he'd go mountain biking, you know, with hangovers that were just incredible. Tough guy. I mean, he was a really amazing sports person, but he was an alcoholic, you know. And finally, you know, he just said, that's enough. And he started going to Alcoholics Anonymous and really seriously desiring to cure this problem. And he did, you know, and for years he's been cured. And actually, he gave me his Medal of Sobriety, his 10-year Medal of Sobriety, one time as a gift. You know, he said, this is really special to me. And I have it right now. He said, and I want to give it to you as a gift. You know, but anyway, he says in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the most, you know, successful rehabilitation program of all these programs, they tell you you're always a drunk. You will never not be a drunk. There's two categories of drunk, a wet drunk and a dry drunk. And you're a dry drunk. But never think that you can just have a drink, you see, because it'll come right back on you like that. And the thing that sets this rehabilitation program apart and its resultant success rate is they tell you, there's a 12-step program, and they tell you in one of those steps that you have to give your life over to a higher power. You cannot defeat this yourself. You cannot overcome alcoholism on your own. You must give yourself over to a higher power, you know. And those that do that, they can oftentimes achieve success. But he told me a lot of the guys that come to the program, when they get to that point, they can't do it. They just give up and they quit. You know, they can't do that.
Well, they'd rather have their problems than like doing that. Like, that's such a...
I guess. or maybe wouldn't rather have it, but they just can't do it. They're so atheistic or so, miscreants, as it's described in Bhagavad Gita, that they can't do it. But those who can, and he did fully. So when I met him and, introduced him to chanting and, things like this, he took to it right away. It was no problem for him, and he chants today. I mean, he offers his food and whatever, vegetarian and so on. But he was already prepared because he'd already made that commitment that there's a higher power who has the power to help me. I can't do it alone, So when he heard our teachings and more information about the higher power, and they don't tell you have to believe in a Christian God or, a Buddhist God or a Hindu God or whatever. They just say a higher power. And the higher power is what the higher power is for you. That's how they generalize it.
Yeah.
But it's still a higher power. It's someone up there, you see. And so when he heard about, the Supreme Person and the detailed information that we have available in Bhakti Yoga and so on, it was very exciting for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
So it's there's so many articles that I but I guess no. I just wanted to come back. I hope that the wind isn't too strong in your ears as well, because there's not an interesting article that describes about the immune system. This is published in the British Journal of Nutrition. Well, I don't know if I should read it or if I should wait until you hear me in both ears. You hear me, okay? Okay. So a review paper published in the British Journal of Nutrition described how alcohol may impair the movement and functioning of key immune system cells, white blood cells such as B and T lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and monocytes, macrophages, as well as alter the immune system's ability to produce important chemicals, for example, cytokines. And then it says, excessive drinking can even make you more susceptible to infectious diseases like the COVID-19 coronavirus. And everyone's afraid of that thing right now. That's what we're all talking about, So...
Yeah, it's interesting how gradually more and more of these scientific studies by the medical profession are just confirming what the Vedas said all along from the beginning. They're detailing it. Okay, it reduces gray matter in the brain, or it has a negative effect on your immune system, or it leads to increased neurodegenerative disease or whatever. So they're giving the little details that they discover, but if you just follow the yoga system, see, no intoxication, all that's taken care of. And you don't even need to know the details about the gray matter and the nervous system and the immune system and diabetes and all these things.
Yeah.
That always is additional proof to me. I'm convinced anyway. I don't really need additional proof. But it just confirms that the Vedas are always right. They're never wrong. This is absolute truth. And gradually, scientists are discovering, this and this and this, which confirms what has been known for, since time immemorable.
Exactly.
This is not new. And the Vedas are designed in a way that it expects, or it let's just say promotes or requires people to just accept these truths and do it. Not having to prove it, because a lot of the Vedic knowledge can't be proved. It's beyond our ability to prove it. See? But some of these little things that show proof of the truth of these teachings can actually give us more, receptibility, so to speak, that I have more trust, more faith in the Vedic teaching. Because, wow, well, scientists say it must be true. We've got it backwards. No, the Vedas say it must be true. But we've come to full circle in the atheistic, society. And so the high priest of the world are the scientists.
There's, and we trust those. Anything that they say,
And they've proven innumerable times to have been wrong. Again and again. Some scientific studies said this and that, but it proved to be not correct. Like one study says drinking is good for you.
Yeah.
Drink a glass of wine every day. See, but, here's another study that says, no, it's not true. But the Vedas say from the beginning, And so what can we say? We just follow the yoga teaching, the Vedic teaching. And, if scientists prove it's through this way or that way, great. If they fail to prove it, or if they come up with something different, it doesn't change our faith or our viewpoint. So.
But it's, another aspect of this is that, which is always, I never knew this. I never knew the information. Like before I didn't have the information, and this is before I had any clue about the Vedas. But I always felt like my life wouldn't lead in a constructive direction if I couldn't control my mind. I didn't feel that there was something positive, even for a short moment, to not be in control of my mind. But people just wouldn't understand that. They would say, like, you're so stuck up, like, just let yourself do that, relax, don't worry about it, just, it's good for you to let go of control. And so, but I was never, how is the Vedas seeing that with control and controlling your mind versus letting go? Like, where's the point that we want to get to?
Well, every Vedic teaching, every yoga teaching says control the mind, control the senses. And we spoke about it before, that the senses are like wild horses, and the mind is like, the reins that control the horses. And if you don't let if the mind doesn't control the senses and you just let them run wild, they'll lead you in, a chaotic direction, You must control the mind, and the intelligence is superior to the mind. So the intelligence is the controller of the mind. So just like that was your intelligence, it told you that it's not good for me to not be able to control my mind. That wasn't the mind talking.
No.
The mind would say, let me go free. I want to escape from you. I want to do what I want to do. But your intelligence was controlling the mind. So your intelligence understood, no, it's not good. You see? So therefore, in turn, if the mind is controlled, then the mind will want to control the senses. So the whole thing is kept in bounds to a degree, And that's just coming from intuition. And we have to remember that we've had many lifetimes. This is not our first time around. Yeah. And so, in a previous life or lives, people have evolved, some higher and higher to other levels of understanding. And so all your life you understood that. Well, that came from something that you achieved in your last life. Mm-hmm. And other people who haven't achieved anything, they've actually on the way down, to lower forms of life, they have the exact opposite, realization or experience or feeling. Just let it all hang out, man. Just let it go. Let it run. Jump on board and let it take you where it does. So exactly. That's another direction. So the intelligence is lost its position. The mind and the senses are completely dominant, and the intelligence is employed to to find out how to accomplish their nefarious ends. And the soul is just the helpless passenger in the car of the body and the mind, just being taken for a ride into lower forms of life. This is not the only show. This is just one little tiny part of the show, this lifetime. So when one leaves his body from, living these lifestyles of, degradation and, sin, if you will, there's a repercussion, coming up in the next life. There will be something that we have to go through because of it. So again, if we understand this, it's stated very clearly in the Vedas. It's not some hidden story. Then, again, if we care about ourselves and what's going to come from these activities, we might think twice. But if we just have the philosophy, it's only one life, or who knows if it's even true, or, karma, what is that, or, I don't believe it, whatever, then we've just defeated our chance to elevate ourselves or protect ourselves. See, we've just created a whole misery for ourselves.
Well, which doesn't make any sense anyway. I was just thinking about that because, obviously there's justice. There has to be justice. Some people, like there's justice for everyone. You might not see the result of justice or karma in this life, but, in the long term, it's going to.
But again, you would see it like that. It's true. I know it's true, but, that's not the general philosophy. I mean, people would not be doing what they're doing if they thought there was some justice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
They just wouldn't.
That's true.
If a criminal 100% knew that they would get caught and hanged for the crime they were getting ready to commit, they probably wouldn't do it. Most would not do it. But now things have gone so south that people knowingly do things like the mass shootings that are taking place in America right now. I mean, this is like epidemic. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but
yeah.
In 2021, between January and April, or it might have been even March or April, there was 273 mass shootings. 273. A mass shooting is when 4 or more people get shot or injured, whether they're killed or not. So 273. Last week, there was 17. In 1 week, 17. This weekend in Florida, on Friday, there was a mass shooting. 1 person got killed. One person got killed and 6 injured. Then yesterday, there was another one in Florida, and 2 people got killed and 9 people were wounded. So, and then the gunman usually killed himself. See, so they've gone so far in their depraved state of mind that they know they're going to get caught. I mean, it's not like they're going to get away with it. Broad daylight kind of stuff. They go into a building, they know they're going to get cornered in that building and have a shootout with the police or whoever might come. And so when the police do arrive, they kill as many as they can, and when the police arrive, they kill himself. So that's how it's progressed. So, death is not even a deterrent anymore. It used to be, okay, well, is the crime worth it? I'm going to get, if I get killed. So what I said only holds true to a certain degree, but now it's even gone past that. I know I'm going to get caught, and I'm going to kill myself after I kill as many people as possible. So it just the standard keeps going down and down and down.
But like, how is that? Just to comment on that, like, how is that person seeking happiness? I mean, you just explain how we're all seeking happiness. Like, how can that be? How can there be happiness or the resemblance of search for happiness in that act?
Well, it's so perverted. I can't really. I mean, some people get pleasure out of seeing people die, believe it or not, or they're so just buried in their own misery. It's not even about happiness. It's just about anger and lust and anger, which overrides all those conditions. And they just do what they do. Like in Russia, one guy just, killed. Did he kill anybody? No, he didn't kill anybody, but he started shooting at people with a hunting rifle from the balcony. And he said, I just hate people, and I'm going to kill as many as I can, and I hate life, And it's described him as extremely drunk, alcohol. And so, that was what he did, But it's rare in these other countries. I mean, America's certainly the world leader in the mass shooting category by by hundreds of times. And people say it's the guns. Well, certainly the guns are the instruments they're using, but it's the people. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's the minds. They're just so far gone, that they just do what they do.
What is it in that country? Like, I guess I don't know. It seems like things are always happening. Like, everything is so extreme in the United States. Everything is.
What is it? Extreme hedonism.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Extreme hedonism, and so therefore that leads to all this. Completely hedonistic society. And so, there's no restrictions basically on any kind of conduct.
No. Exactly.
It's wide open. You can be anybody you want to be, and they're trying to pass laws that even give more protection to the degenerated, strange behavior of people. Degraded, not degenerated, but degraded behavior of people. They're trying to pass laws to give protection to these people. I don't want to get explicit on the air because it's just so dark. I don't even want to put it in people's minds. But anyway, that's the fruit of that. It's fruit. Everybody's so buried in lust and the resultant anger that there's just nothing stopping anything.
Would you say that's kind of based in like the United States being focused on like capitalism, trying to get more money more than maybe any other country, like more, I don't know, capitalistic, materialistic more than any other country?
Well, it is, but capitalism is just the means to increase materialism, But it's becoming more and more a country where it is the haves and the have-nots. I mean, there's also the other side. There's more and more people without money. The people that are on welfare and the homeless, and every major city's got a huge homeless problem. And now they want to defund the police and so on. And Portland, Oregon, is one of the main cities that are promoting this. In fact, they've already defunded the police, and crime has increased 800%. In the last year, 800%. So, they got all these ideas that they want to implement: no police and no this and no that, and complete freedom to do whatever I want to do, and I can set up my own little city in the middle of a big city and say nobody can come in there. I can just create my own little independent world of, our own government and so on, which they did in Seattle, in Portland and a couple other places. See, you can do these things. So it just keeps going down and down and down. Once you start down, I mean, you're a mountain climber. It's easy to go down. It's really hard to go up. You're grinding to get up, but when you turn around, all you got to do is basically let go, and you can free fall.
It's hard to walk slowly. Like you just want to run down because the natural tendency is just like you just.
Yeah, because gravity pulls you down. Well, the gravity of degradation pulls you down, 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 and it's basically just free fall. So if there's no moral codes, there's no spiritual codes, there's no governmental, laws and so on to uphold some standard of sensibility, then that's what you get.
But how about the average, person listening to this podcast? Like I'm just drinking, with my friends, wine there, and which I did previously in my life as well. Like how bad is that? Like and why is that a problem? If it is a problem, how big of a problem is it? Is it something that I can,
What is the little
just
this
like
of that wine?
just a little bit of drinking, yeah, a
Oh,
little bit of wine here and
wine.
there with friends.
Yeah, I thought that's what you
beer
said.
here and there, and
well, like I say, I mean, it depends on what you want to do with your life. If that's what your philosophy is, that's what you're going to do. But this study just said there's no amount of alcohol that's good for you. It's all bad for you. And you may not see any effect, but look how many people are getting Alzheimer's and dementia later in life. Well, that, is increasing and increasing in numbers of people. And, who's to say it's not somehow connected with the increase in alcohol consumption and other substances that certainly aren't good,
Yeah.
And, so, we're not telling people what they can and can't do. They have to decide. We're not the police. We're just saying the yoga system, the yoga lifestyle is proving, and has always proved, but, now scientifically more and more is being proven to be a superior way to live. And that's all. And if you don't choose that, and you choose to have a little, wine or have a beer after your mountain bike ride, or, your activities, whatever they are, or whatever, your choice, But what do you want to do with your life? See, where do you want to go with your life? And if you think you're the body and the mind and the senses, then you want to go to more sensual pleasure. See, but if you start, really looking deeper and understand your spirit soul, you're not the material body, then, might see things from a little different perspective. And you learn about the law of karma. There will be, reactions to the actions, each and every one. And, you might start seeking some additional information, not only from the scientific community, but from, some spiritual authority. So it's an individual thing. Some people are doing that. You and I both are, dealing with people who do come and like what they hear and, appreciate this additional information and give them some insight into who they are and, what they can do with their life to make it really better. And, what about after death, and some people are actually beginning to be interested in this, People have always been interested in it to some degree, and then most people are not. And they will do what they do. But it was interested in COVID-19 lockdowns in various countries, Canada, America, especially, but I'm sure other countries too. They closed the churches because, it's a place where people can spread COVID, right? church gatherings and so on. People come together, they sing or they chant or whatever. So we must close the churches. But it's not an essential part of society, they said. It's not an essential part. It's just kind of like,
Right.
Something, it's okay, but it's not essential. But they kept, of course, the grocery stores open. They kept the liquor stores open. They kept, the prostitute houses open. They kept, these kind of places open because that's essential, And they actually brazenly, openly said that, And so the one thing that could actually help people more than anything, which was the church and the spiritual, camaraderie. Yeah, take precautions, social distances, mask, whatever, But why is it that they can't do that in church, but they can do it, in the supermarkets, or they can do it in Walmart, or they can, do it at this place and that place? Why can't they do it in the church? So the governments are atheistic, and they're just, they want to close them down because that's where people get additional strength. They're harder to control if you've got a spiritual foundation to stand on. You can't control people as easy. That's why in every regime that's tried to take over power, the first thing they go after is the churches.
Wow.
The churches, the priests, the Bible, they destroy them right away.
Just look at China, to give one example.
Or throughout history, that's where they went, communism, whatever. So that's a strength that they know is an obstacle in their control. So they try to destroy that. Whereas alcohol and drugs and cigarettes and so on plays into their scheme. Weaken the people physically and mentally, and they're controlled much more easily. Destroy them from the inside, just like they did to the Native Americans in America when they wanted to take away all their land and so on. And the Native Americans and many of these native tribes, like the Islanders, the Samoans and the Tahitians and, the Maoris and the Aborigines and so on. I don't know, something about their genetic makeup makes them much, much more susceptible to alcoholism. So what did they do? They just went in there and purposely smuggled in alcohol and gave it to them to destroy them completely, and then they could just take them over with basically no resistance.
That's exactly, I thought about that. I would mention this before because that's the same story with the Samis, the native people in the north of Finland, Russia, Norway, Sweden. Same story.
Yeah.
Same story.
Yeah. And their cultures, they didn't have alcohol hardly, till it was introduced by the white man.
Exactly.
They stayed away from that. So, it's, again, the Vedas are always right. If you care about somebody, you want to do what will help them physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's real help in somebody. So we don't have much of that concern for other people in the new age consciousness, the new world order. We're very self-centered and, whatever. Divided into many different groups, and and the ones up above that are controlling the pawns on the board just pit one group against another group. Let them destroy each other, and they don't have to do it. They can just stand by and watch it happen and promote it however they want to for the end that they're trying to achieve. Yeah. Sad world, but it's reality. But an individual can decide, I'm going to take the path that is going to be the best for me. And, maybe they'll understand that the yoga lifestyle is actually that path. It's been proven since time immemorable. And, not a pretty picture, but reality is reality. But it is a nice picture because there's an alternative, you see. If there was no alternative, it'd just be like, wow. But there is an alternative. Just like this study showed that, this is a modifiable situation. It's something we can do something about. If drinking is causing all this, it's a modifiable situation. I can choose not to drink. And as a governing body, maybe, they will put more emphasis on abstinence rather than indulgence. Maybe not forcing people to do things, but just emphasis on it. Role models. Let the teachers in school be role models. They're teaching in school things that, are totally abominable, but why can't there be another role model? And bring the people up. The kids, from the first grade on up, can be, encouraged to live a better lifestyle. And teachers and parents are, to kids, they're the role models. They're the leaders. They're the ones who you follow just automatically.
Yeah.
But now the trend is to destroy authority, tell the kids to rebel against their parents, and the teachers, if they're, any kind of, good teachers, don't listen to that stuff, And
That's very true.
Yeah, that's Kali Yuga. We talked about Kali Yuga. Well, this is Kali Yuga stuff. These are these are symptoms of Kali Yuga.
And when we can be a difference, that's so what it always comes back to for me. If nothing else, if your own, I mean, if that doesn't motivate your own health, then let that be the motivation that you can make that change for others. Because if you can be that role model that you're speaking about. Everyone can be that role model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's true.
If we break trail, then it'll be so much easier for others to follow.
Yeah, breaking trail. That's a very good example. Yeah. And, I'm sure you and I both have been out in the nature somewhere far away, and you see somebody's going this way, and you naturally tend to go that way too.
Yeah,
you don't really know where they're going. I mean, you don't know where that guy's going, but he went that way, so you just kind of automatically go that way too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, an individual can really have a big influence on others. Break that trail. Go against the grain, and somebody else may come along and just follow in your footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and it makes life exciting, makes it worth living, makes it so there's real substance to life.
Because there's hope. There's
hope. You're inspired. You will, experience, along the way that you inspire somebody else.
Yeah.
And you've been inspired by, your spiritual teachers and, those authorities that are really breaking the trail. That's the perfect trail. And so, yeah, it's inspiring.
think it's time for a chant, or?
Yeah, I was thinking exactly that, you know. Mm. What is that in the background? A birdhouse up on that fence?
That is supposedly a, what do they call the small little people that run around in the trees? Squirrel house. But I don't think there lives any squirrel. There's no squirrels living in it, unfortunately. But we put some seeds there, and there are birds coming to eat those seeds.
One just
Frank
might
built
build a
one.
nest in there.
Yeah, it's a gonna be a huge nest though. I think they prefer something smaller because it's like 40 centimeters. It's cube. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. He'll have a big
Yeah,
apartment.
yeah, exactly. Luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. Mountains surrounding here. Still snow in the mountains. Yeah. And forest. That's very rare for me. In Tromsø, there are no forests because it's so barren, so far north and so close to the sea. And so when you get here into the green forests, evergreen forests, it's like wow, it's different.
Yeah. A lot to be said for trees.
Yeah, well, I'll chant to them now. So chant the mantras to them.
Okay, so the mantras again. Gauranga Haribo. Gauranga. 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 Gauranga Haribo. Gauranga Haribo. Gauranga Haribo. Gauranga Haribo. 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 Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Hare Haribo. Haribo. Goranga, Haribo. Haribo. Goranga, 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 Haribo. Haribo. Haribo.
Haribo.
Okay, Sankirtan. Good fun.
Makes perfect way to purify ourselves and yeah.
You know, I
that
just thought of
Oh.
a true story in connection with what we've been talking about. Is we have retreats, as you know, and 300 or 400 people sometime come, and we just have a big party, chanting and dancing and so on. And so this was in Poland, and there was this girl who had come to a few meditation classes. She was in her late 20s probably, and had a small baby. And so she heard about the retreat, and she wanted to come to the retreat. And her mother told her, no way, you're not going to that retreat. No way. That's just some sect, and you're not going. But she was very determined. She wanted to go. So her mother said, okay, on the only condition that I come with you. So she said, okay, let's go. So they came to the retreat. And the mother was convinced, you see, that we were on drugs. This was before she even got there, that these guys are drug takers. It's a bad environment. I don't want my daughter there, but I'm going there to protect her. So she comes. First night, kirtan, they came about 2 days into the retreat. Now things are already rocking. So there's about, like I say, 300 people probably. And the kirtan just goes off, and people are just dancing like crazy and chanting, running around the pole and whatever, you know. And so after that, the mother was convinced, without a doubt, everybody's on drugs. So next day, of course, daytimes are, more, not so excited. And then next night, same thing, going off. And after about 3 or 4 days, and again, she's saying, I told you these guys are all on drugs. And she said, no, Mom, they're not on drugs. Everybody's just naturally high from chanting. We're just having a good time. No, I know they're on drugs. But after 3 or 4 days of her being there, she finally realized they're really not on drugs. They're just having such a good time from chanting, And so she kind of got into it a little bit after that. And she was perfectly fine with the daughter being there. Next retreat, the mom didn't come, but the daughter came along and so on. So, yeah, so it was the point. It was that you can have a really, really good time, a real party, you see. And the next morning, there's no headaches. You don't stay up till midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. You stop when it's a good time to stop, 9 o'clock or something. Get up early, do your meditations. Everybody's feeling energized and fresh and good, organic vegetarian food. And, the whole 2-week period of the retreat is just totally uplifting, with the teachings and so on. So, you can have a real party and have a really good time with no alcohol, no drugs, no weird stuff at all. Absolutely, pure fun, so to speak. Yeah.
And magic does so much good. I mean, you wouldn't even think so. I had a friend who was struggling quite a bit with eating disorders, and that's finally when something clicked in and something really changed. What was at such a retreat.
Oh,
So
yeah, it takes care of a lot of problems.
Exactly, and causing none.
All benefit and no side effects, negative side effects. Yeah. Okay, Ruben, I got to go. So, yeah.
Speak more.
Thanks very much. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Got a few things we can discuss in the equipment range.
Yeah, exactly. I have no shortage of ideas of things to talk about.
Okay. And if you see that squirrel, tell him Haribo.
Yeah, maybe he's in there, but he's just very good at hiding, and I've never seen him come out.
I'm sure he's
maybe
not
he's so comfortable that
I'm sure he's not in there, but maybe he's on vacation.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Haribo to Frank and Lynn and Yana. And yeah. Namaste, Haribo.
See you next week. Haribo. That's all we had for you today. In this episode, we'll hopefully come back very soon again with more episodes. But until then, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and then you do get notified when we have a new episode out there. And if you want to be sort of more beforehand, then you can get emails from us through our email list. Or join our Patreon page, where you get access to behind-the-scene contents. And get to join our live recordings of our podcasts, even through a small monthly mini donation to help us run the podcast. So all of that is available on breakingtrail.life, our website, and hope to see you soon again. Remember, stay true to yourself and dare to break trail.